back to a really shitty day here in Sweden. It's raining and it's really cloudy. I was hoping to get some more light here, but it's just one of those days in the Nordics where it feels like the sun doesn't rise properly. So we will have to do with this. But it's a great day because I have bought something really cool here that I'm very excited and happy for. And this is one of those cars that I feel is getting out of my price range, and as you might imagine, I didn't pay a lot for this thing. It needs a lot of work, a lot of money, but at least I own it and I can start building. So how did we get here, and what's the future for it? So this thing whole started with I made an ad on Marketplace that I wanted to find a two-door roof for my 65 Chevelle project, and I said that I could take basically any mid-60s to mid-70s roof. And one of the answers one of the persons that reached out to me and said that he had a 65 Impala two-door hardtop roof that he wanted $50 for, which I thought was really cheap. And at first I thought, man, I can buy that roof and then I can buy a four-door Impala and two-door convert it with the roof. And I didn't get any pictures or anything. So he said he was gonna fix pictures. He forgot, and he said that he was going to fix it on Saturday. This was in like Tuesday or something, and I was really anxious to know more about it. So I reached out to him a few days later and I asked if he fixed the pictures and whatnot, and he hadn't. But I asked him, is there anything more left of the car, because I thought maybe there's doors, fenders or whatever. And he said, yeah, the roof is still attached to a very rusty body. And at that point I got really excited, because as you might imagine, you don't find things like this in Sweden. Here, I mean, if you get something imported from the US, people don't import those really shitty projects because it's not worth it. Instead, they buy the better projects, and obviously that's what people prefer. People don't like buying these. So as I said, you don't find projects in the price range that are paid for this thing. And yeah, what am I going for? Anyway, he told me it's attached to a rusty body, and there is a frame and there is paperwork for it, a title and so on. So then Saturday came around, I called him, I got some pictures of this thing sitting with small trees growing up through the frame and to the sides here. And I mean, I knew I had to have this thing. And we talked a bit back and forth, and he gave me a ridiculous reasonable price. So I paid for this body with a frame, and it has paperwork and everything, and I have a whole truck load, or the whole bed of my truck is filled with parts. I paid $750 for this thing, and I am beyond happy with that. I mean, just finding this thing in Sweden and then paying a very low price for it is it's amazing. So anyway, that's how I ended up with it. I got so excited, so I went ahead and picked it up yesterday, which was Sunday, and I got it home here and it was pitch black, so I couldn't really shoot anything. So that's how I ended up with it. And how did it end up in this state? So the thing is, there was a Swedish 65 Impala SS, and this thing was imported 20 years ago as a donor for that car. So they imported this thing, took all body panels and interior and a lot of stuff, as you might imagine. So then this thing was put to the side, like behind a barn or something. And I mean, some vehicles come to light because some neighbor sees it or whatever, but this thing, it was tucked around a corner behind the cars, and if someone came through the dense forest that was behind this property, yeah, maybe then they would have seen it, but otherwise you would never have found this thing. So I'm guessing that's why it was still there. So it was, I mean, it was imported in 2005. I'm not really sure when it was parted out, but yeah, eventually it ended up behind that building and left to rot, which it unfortunately did pretty much. So the frame is really, really bad. The body is, I wouldn't, compared to everything else I own, I would say that the body is not that bad, but to most people it's pretty bad. So anyway, that's how it ended up behind that building, and I eventually got it. So I mean, what's in it in the future? Obviously, you know me, no car is basically too far gone if I like it. So obviously we're gonna save this thing. First thing would be to get the rear axle so we can get it on wheels. Unfortunately, the frame is really, really rusty here. They have fixed it with some really, really thin metal. So the only thing holding the front end of the frame here is basically the rubber bushings. So we need another frame, maybe to fix this frame or whatever. We have to fix the frame so that we can get it on wheels, and we need to get an engine in it. And I'm contemplating right now to put in my supercharged small block that I have with a 671 on it. We'll see what happens, but that's my plan at least. And the thing is, we talked about the paperwork and so on with this thing. I've talked about before how the Swedish system works, where we get the title, toll papers and everything. We send them to the DMV, our way of the DMV, and they do an origin control, and then they deem it okay. Then you can register it, and when you have done the registration inspection, then you get the license plates, and the license plates are tied to you, so you basically own it in the Swedish way or whatever. The thing is, this was imported 20 years ago, and they had a little different way of doing things. When you sent in the paperwork, which they did on this thing for some reason, even though they saw it as a donor, then it got accepted, and it was okay. And back then the car was immediately issued license plates. So this thing is already registered with plates and everything, and now in my name, but it still needs a registration inspection to be where they basically write all of the specifics. What engine does it have, how much horsepower, how long is it, how wide, wheelbase, you get the drill. So that still needs to happen. So even though we put in the supercharged engine, we might take it out to put in something that will be registerable, because that supercharged engine will never pass a registration. So we'll see how everything works out, but we're definitely gonna save this thing. And obviously we need some parts for it. We have a lot of parts, but we're also missing something. We don't have rear axle, we don't have front and rear glass, we have side glass, we do not have doors, we have fenders and a hood, but basically nothing else in the front. No bumpers, no grill headlights, anything. We do not have a bumper for the rear. We have a trunk lid, we have a rear seat, and yeah, something I forgot to mention. This thing, believe it or not, is an SS and Super Sport. It's a manual car from the beginning. We have no pedal assembly or anything, but it's a big hole in the floor. I do not know which engine it came with, but it is a true Super Sport, so that's really cool. So we have a Super Sport rear seat, door panels, we have a basically complete dash, I think. So we have some bits of the interior, we have most of the body. As I said, the biggest thing we need is doors, and the biggest thing to make it into a car again is basically the rear axle. So we have a lot of parts to work with, and there's just a few parts we need to really start getting it together. So I'm really excited for that. We don't need to spend a whole lot of money to start making this into a car again. Unfortunately, I have a bunch of other things I have to attend to. I have promised for way too long that we're going to work on the El Camino, which we will be probably start doing here later today. We'll see what we have time for. But anyway, that's the basic history of the car and so on. So I'm gonna detach the camera, or I can just do it here and we can start showing you a little more in depth. Here you can see the frame rust. They have fixed it with some really thin metal. So we have to brace this area of the frame again, but it has some damage here on the frame. Not all that bad, but it might be easier to get another frame or a parts frame or whatever. But at least everything is here. We have the rear or the complete front suspension. We have the control arms for the rear, so we could put a rear axle in there. As I said, we have fenders, we have a hood. That's basically everything in here. We're missing all of the pedal assembly. I have to find that. We have to find the rear window and front window. As I said, we have the side glass. We have all, I think we have all the regulators. Control arms, we have a tank. It's probably bad. Frame, rusty, needs a lot of work in this area. Some rust in the rear quarters, but I mean, that's the least of our worries. We have some rust in the rockers, but I don't think that's all that bad. We have one of these corners. I'm not sure which side, but we're missing one side. I don't think I have basically any trim for the whole car. Unfortunately, he cut the trunk lock out of the trunk lid here for some reason. And you can see this rear part of the frame here has fallen off. And the frame rail here is a bit sad, but we have dealt with worse. And obviously it's a bit bad here on the lip, but I mean, it's together. In the trunk, the only thing that's there is a set of original Super Sport hubcaps, which is pretty cool. And something that's also pretty cool with this thing is a vinyl top car, which I know is very rare for the 65 Impalas. Unfortunately, as with everything else, we're missing the trim for the vinyl top, but I mean, it's pretty cool. There's a vinyl top car. Again, rear quarter, crappy condition, can be fixed, and it's so much leaves here, but I think the floor seems to be in, I mean, usable condition. We don't have to do much there. We have the radiator support, so that's good. Obviously, we have some rust here, and here's the worst place of the frame. It's basically falling off here. It's nothing left. This body mount is gone, but I mean, as I said, we have dealt with similar rust like this. Maybe another frame would be good. Once again, complete front suspension, basically power steering car. He even tapped these, so maybe the steering box is, you can move it at least. And for some reason, I think he made his car from an AC to a non-AC, so he removed that area to redo his car. I think we have the AC stuff here, and you can see we have rear seat, door panels, and proper Super Sport door panels with this trim. We have this piece between the hood and the front window. We have the heater core, and basically boxes and boxes of stuff under here with window regulators, windows, a gauge cluster, the dash, and a lot of other bits and pieces. And I just loaded up the boxes. So he wanted $500 for the body with the paperwork and everything, and I paid another $250 for basically all the parts in there, and the hood also. He wanted extra. I paid $50 for a rust-free hood, so I mean, I couldn't argue. I just paid whatever he asked. I didn't haggle in this case. So yeah, that's basically it about my Impala here. I am beyond thrilled to have bought this thing. As I said, these are going up in value like crazy. I would argue this is one of the nicest looking bodies cars ever made, and there are a lot of people that agree with that, so they are very popular here in Sweden, which I think that it's a bit overrated, but that also means there's a bunch of restored cars here in Sweden, so I think there will probably be pretty easy to find a set of half decent doors and some trim with some dents in it and so on. So I think that we'll be able to find everything we need relatively easily here in Sweden. So that's great, at least. But as I said, there was actually, I've talked about this big car event we have here in Sweden, which is called Classic Car Week, and they even did a meet for only 65 Impalas on Classic Car Week. So there was basically like 65 Impalas in rows, which just tells me how ridiculously popular this model is, which makes me a little bit off about them, because I don't like cars that are too popular, but you can't argue the roof line, the rear quarters. It's an incredibly good looking car, and then they ruined everything in 66, however they managed to do that. But we'll see when we get to the Impala. Unfortunately, I have a lot of other stuff to attend to, and Christmas is coming and holidays, and I really need to get this thing back on the frame so this thing can move under its own power again. And I said, I promised for so long, and my viewers in Sweden are so mad that I haven't been working on the El Camino. So we'll see how all of this comes around. But anyway, talking about something else, you know that chassis I bought, this C3500 that I bought, that was pretty far away from home, and I managed to get a transportation on that thing to my father's place. So it's currently sitting there, and it's like a 50-minute drive from me. So I'm not 100% sure, but I'm contemplating if we should go to my father today, unload Impala, get the C3500 to get it home to here, so we can think about what we're gonna do with that, because I don't like having my vehicles spread out. I want to have them here so I can think about them, go measure stuff, or look at something that I'm thinking about. So I think we're gonna pick that up. And also this morning, I think that I might have found our Suburban body for it, because I made an ad yesterday on Marketplace that I needed a Suburban body. I've done it before, but didn't get any response. But now I got a response, a half parted out 2007 Suburban that might, we'll see. He was actually in the US right now, so he couldn't sell it to me until like after Christmas, which is unfortunate, but we'll see if we can manage to buy that body. It would be fantastic. But all of that is in the future. We'll see if we can get that picked up here today, more my chassis, I mean. But other than that, we need to get this thing out of here today. And when I had the idea of this thing, I was thinking that I want this to be so that I don't want to care about it. It can just rain in it and I don't have to bother. But now I love it, and it feels bad to just have it raining in it. So we need to cover it somehow. And we can't just wrap a tarp around it, because it's just going to be a pool here. So we need to take some wooden boards or something, make a temporary roof structure so that that will hold up the tarp and not sag. So we have to think how we can solve that. But other than that, after I quit the video last Friday, I couldn't live with having this fallen out. So I fixed the springs and I fixed this trim ring. So now these are in place properly, and I put the trim ring back on. So that's good. And something else is that I went ahead and I re-glued the inner structure to the outer skin. So now this thing is a lot less flimsy, and when you close it, it sounds a lot better. So that was a really great improvement. So the Chevelle for now is basically done. I think we'll get back to this when the winter is over and we can start feeling some springtime, and then we can continue with this thing with rear brakes and so on. But we'll see. You know me, I'm back and forth with all of my projects, but at least we have really turned this into something, and I'm really happy and proud about that. So anyway, that's where we're at. I'm gonna think a little bit here if we should get this out of here or go to my father's place, unload Impala and whatnot. I went ahead and I unloaded the Impala because I want to go to my father's place and pick up the C3500. And we had to clean the trailer here because there's parts left of the Impala here on the trailer. So I don't want to get that out on the road. But my plan is that we are going to drive that thing next summer with, I'm not sure how much horsepower the engine have, 700 horsepower, whatever. And yeah, I really want to have this on the road later, or I mean next summer. We'll see if we can manage that, but I guess it's just a matter of which car we are working on. But I want to have that thing on the road also. I want to have everything on the road. And something I'm realizing is that I am buying way too many keepers because I like to be able to buy cars, fix them and sell them with a bit of profit and move on to the next thing. But now I have so many cars that I never want to sell. I am not selling that thing, not a chance. I'm not gonna sell the El Camino. That's gonna be my shop truck, whatever. And basically the only vehicle I have right now that I could sell like this if someone asked, that is my Mustang. Everything else I would like to to keep. So I have way too many keepers. But yeah, I love my junk. But anyway, we are going to clean the trailer here, go to my father's place, pick up that thing, and we'll see. Now it starts raining here again. Maybe we can get that into the garage today. This seems to be it looks like it's going to be better weather tomorrow, so it might be nice to we can do some more stuff to the Chevelle, and then tomorrow maybe get the El Camino into the garage. We'll see what ends up happening. But let's go to my father's place, pick up the C3500 and see how that looks. Said and done, we're home here again, and it's raining a lot, so I didn't film anything from my father's place, and yeah, there wasn't really much to show you. I just picked it up. So what do we have here, and what is my plan? We have a 1995 C3500, so we have a two-wheel drive, which I prefer in most cases. And as you can see, it's pretty gutted. There's not much left of it, but what is still here is exactly what we need. We have a frame, and most of all, we have the paperwork. So I've told you a bunch of times of how stupid the Swedish rules are, but I'm gonna go through this. This thing, as it left the factory from Chevy, it should have had a, as we call it, a total weight, which is the weight of the vehicle plus your maximum load. The most weight you can carry on the road without getting into trouble with cops, without overloading it. So this should have about 4.5 tons of total weight. I think it's 4,540, which is something in pounds. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly the number as of now. I don't really want to check it in the rain here. But most of these chassis have about 4.5 tons of this total weight, which means that by Swedish rules, it is a heavy duty truck, or a heavy, we call a car is a bil in Swedish. The car word is bil, or when it's a truck in this case, it's a lastbil, which is cargo car basically. So this is a heavy cargo car if you do the straight translation over, but we can call it a heavy duty truck, which means that most of these, when they have a 4.5 tons, they require the same driver's license as driving a semi, basically, without a trailer, because we have separate for trailer and whatnot. But as you understand, this requires the same driver's license as every big rig on the road. So that deters a lot of buyers and owners. And there's also a bunch of different rules between a heavy duty truck and a light duty truck. So in this case, someone somehow has managed to register this with a lowered total weight down to 3.5 tons, which, if you just think about it, sounds really stupid, because that just takes away your loading capacity. And that's correct. But there's also a bunch of other stuff. 3,500 kilos, 3.5 tons or under requires a regular driver's license. You don't need any. This thing requires the same driver's license as this thing, since someone has managed to lower it. That in this case should not be possible. We have some loopholes that people do to manage to lower the total weight, because you can't just go in and say that you want to lower it. So people have managed to do it. I'm not sure how they managed to do this thing, because it doesn't really add up. But it doesn't matter, because it is registered. No one can take that from us. So that's good. It has a low total weight, which also means that you're allowed to load 700 kilos on this thing if it was as it was when it was on the road. It's supposed to have an aluminum bed with some, basically a flat bed. So nothing special there. You're allowed to load 700 kilos, which is nothing basically. So it's totally worthless as a truck, because you're going to be overloaded every time. But in the case of in Sweden, it's better to drive the car you're allowed to drive overloaded than to drive a vehicle that you don't have the driver's license for and be within the weight limit. So that's why people do it like this. So for me, it doesn't really matter. I have the driver's license required to drive a heavy duty truck of this class, but it means that when I have made what I want, my wife can drive it. Also, you're allowed to drive faster. A heavy duty truck is a maximum of 90, I believe, 90 kilometers per hour, which is like 50 or 55 miles per hour. It must be more like 55, I guess. But with if it's a light duty truck, and as I said, we're only talking registration here, it's the same exact vehicle, then you're allowed to drive it as speed limit. Our highest speed limit right now is 120 kilometers per hour, which is, I guess, in like 70 or something miles per hour. So no speed limits. It also makes it, since this is 30 years or older, I only have to inspect this every other year instead of a heavy duty truck, which has to be inspected every year. With being a 95, it's tax exempt, so I only pay a registration fee of like $7 a year for having this thing on the road. Basically, I obviously have to pay insurance, but in general, insurance is cheaper on a heavy duty truck if it's a newer vehicle. But since this is tax exempt, we consider it a veteran vehicle, we call it, but I'm not sure. We could call it a vintage vehicle. I guess it's a better translated word. But that also qualifies for other sorts of insurance, which is cheaper. I can make this a fully insured, which means all the coverage, for like $150 a year, which is really, really cheap here. So that's something that is really, really good. So there's a bunch of good things that comes with sacrificing the loading capacity, and with what I want to build, we don't need that loading capability. So other than that, also with all of the weights here, this thing has a registered hitch, and it doesn't have a hitch anymore, but it is registered with it, and it's really hard to get higher towing capacities on the hitch here in Sweden. And this thing is registered with 4,080 kilos, which is just about 4 tons, which is basically unheard of here. 3.5 tons is most often the maximum you can have. My trailer is 3.5 tons, and we're not allowed to have a ball hitch trailer with a towing, with the total weight over 3.5 tons. So you don't really need it, but it has the towing capability, and I only have to put a hitch on it, and I can just go and pull my trailer, no problem. I don't have to mess with them, convincing them that to give me 3.5 ton towing capacity. So that's really nice. So that's basically what we have bought. We have bought a set of frame rails with a front and rear suspension with really good paperwork. So the paperwork in this thing is basically what makes it worth all the money. I paid $800 for this thing, so it wasn't much money, but that made it worth it. So we can look here on what we actually have. We have a really nice frame. Unfortunately, they have redone the body mounts, and actually they have used hockey pucks, which is ironic since we have been working with hockey pucks. But you can see they look really weird. And what is really weird is that if you look here, they have raised this body mount. You can see they haven't done it to that side. And I'm also here we have hockey pucks. So I'm guessing that they wanted to do like a body lift on it to make it look cooler for some reason. So that's why I'm assuming they have been doing that. And somewhere there, they started making new rockers out of like roof sheet metal for roofs. So those, it doesn't really matter. We're not going to use this cab and the body mounts or whatever. So this cab is going to be thrown away. So as I said, we have our frame rest, we have our frame and everything, and it's two-wheel drive. I prefer two-wheel drive, less things to break, and since I want this to be my ultimate hauler where I don't want anything to be able to break, I have less things to worry about. So that is something that is really good in my opinion. And okay, so we've talked about what this is and what is it going to become. So I want to build, I've talked about this, but I can go through it here. I want to build my version of the ultimate family hauler. And as you already heard, basically it is, we only have to jump hoops to go through, to be able to go past stupid Swedish routes. And first off, I want it to become a Suburban, and I really want a GMT 900, the 07 to 14 Suburban, because I don't know why, I really like them. And those were only registered with gas engines, the 5.3, the 6.0 and the 6.2. And after 92, there's really hard to register a gas into a diesel and a diesel into gas. So I really wanted a diesel Suburban, and I want to have a OM 603 or 606 Mercedes diesel, maybe a Cummins, but probably a Mercedes engine. It's lighter and it is definitely going to be able to do what I want this to do. I don't want it to be a race car. I don't want to do third gear burnouts. I want it to be able to pull this trailer up a hill without sagging too much. So I think that those engines is going to be plenty for what we want to achieve here. This thing is already registered with the diesel. It is a 95, so it is within the stupid rules a bit. But the thing is that I'm not going to swear on this, but I think that going from one diesel to another, especially in this case when we're changing to a weaker diesel, is going to be easier than going from gas to diesel. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. So we have the right year to, or the right engine, original, it's a 6.5 diesel. So I think that it could be registered with the diesel I want. So that's correct. And then obviously we need a body for it. And I found a GMT 400 Suburban locally that I was planning to buy, and just to have a body for now, because it's really hard to find GMT 900 Suburbans that is in bad enough condition to do what I want to do. They are still, the cheapest one I have found was like $7,000, and that is too much for me to junk it. The condition that this Suburban would be like 2,500 bucks over in the US, but they're still really expensive here. So I can't spend 7 grand to junk a car to get the body. But I made an ad on Marketplace that I'm not sure if I told you this earlier today, but that I wanted a GMT 900 Suburban, and I have actually got someone that contacted me that has a partly parted out Suburban of that year range. I haven't got any much information for, I told you that because I told you that he was actually over in the US, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but we'll see. Maybe we can buy that body, and then we're going to get that onto this frame, and that is not going to be super easy. But my plan is, if we take that body and remove it, then we cut out all of the body mounts, basically like they've done here. Then we can bolt those back onto the body. Then we take the body, lower it onto this frame, and then we start attaching those body mounts to this frame, because then we basically have ready body mounts. We can use the original body bushings and everything, and I think that's going to be a really good solution. I think I might make that sound pretty easy. Maybe some of you think that's really hard, or I'm an idiot, which I probably am, but I think that's not going to be a big issue. But we have one big issue, and that is, if we look here on the frame, you can see the floor of the cab here is lower than the frame, which means that we will not be able to have a flat floor if we go with a Suburban body. So unfortunately we have to move this kick up rearwards, which means that we have to cut the frame here, and we have to add the equivalent length of a rear door basically on a Suburban. I'm not sure exactly how far that will be, but we're gonna add a piece something like this far in the frame here, and that will move this rearwards. Then we're gonna lose the shackle mounts, the spring mounts, gonna move them forward to make the wheelbase of our Suburban, and then basically we can just cut out the excess back here when this is probably around here somewhere. I'm not sure. So we're gonna cut the frame wherever it ends up. So yeah, I know that it sounds really stupid, but it's going to make me have a GMT 900 Suburban that I want with a 3500 running gear, which is, I think, is pretty cool since Chevy never made 3500 Suburbans, with the diesel engine that I want, tax exempt, with a great towing capacity. I can basically haul my whole family, a trailer, and 2 small blocks in the back. So I think that's gonna be really good when I eventually get that far, but obviously there's a lot of work, as you probably imagine. But for now, we're just gonna put this to the side and wait until we get a body, because before that I can't really do much. I have to do a bunch of measuring and so on. So with that, unfortunately, we have to do a lot of moving around, which we will do someday when it's not raining. But I have bought way too many cars in the last couple of months here, maybe like 1 month. So we have to do a lot of stacking of cars here in my backyard. So my plan right now is, this will be tomorrow or something, I'm gonna take the Mustang, I'm gonna probably put that on to the frame of the truck here to make that disappear. I'm not really sure where we're gonna hide the Impala, but we have to get the El Camino frame out of here, because hopefully we will be putting that together with that thing soon. We're gonna probably end up putting the Blazer up there, and we're gonna have to do a lot of moving around to make everything fit. And then it's just a matter of when we're gonna start working on it. The plan right now is until Christmas at least we're gonna work on the El Camino. I wanna get that at least running and driving so we can move in and out of the garage. We'll see how far we take it. But then it's a matter of maybe we work on the Impala, maybe we work on the truck, depending on if we have a body or not. We'll see. But yeah, when I explain all of this, I really think that I'm losing a lot of you, and not a lot of you are really getting what I'm trying to achieve here. But yeah, it's basically just me jumping through hoops and finding loopholes to create the vehicle that I want, because it doesn't exist. So yeah, I'm gonna stop standing out in the rain here, see if we can do some progress to the Chevelle, and I'm gonna get the El Camino into the garage tomorrow when it's hopefully not raining. We're in the garage here, so what can we do on our like 1.5 hours or something that we have left here for today? Obviously, we're gonna get this out of here tomorrow, but I'm gonna look for some pieces of wood that we can take in the garage here that can dry overnight, so that we can build some simple structure here. But something I also want to look into is these taillights. I mean, they're cool by themselves, but I obviously want the original taillights. And there's actually one of my viewers that has said that he wanted these because he builds lamps out of them. So I've told him that he could have them. So I want to remove them, and I want to look into getting the original taillights on it, because that would be cool, and we're gonna do it as simple as possible. So that's the plan. 4 taillights are off, and I can't say that it looks better, because I mean, now it looks even more dead here in the rear, but we're gonna make it work. Also, I have taken in some wooden boards that can dry here overnight, and we can start looking at on just something that could hold up our tarp. But anyway, we have our other tail lights here, and the thing is, when I had this sitting, I've been collecting parts, and I really wanted to find a set of taillights, and I couldn't find any here in Sweden. So I went on eBay and I bought these, and I thought that I got them for a pretty good price. I think I paid like $60 or something for them. But then all of the shipping fees and import duties came, and I think these in the end cost me like $170 or something. So they were a bit expensive, but it seemed to be in pretty good condition. And then, of course, a few months later, these came up for sale on our local version of eBay, and I got these for like $15 or something. So I bought them also. So we have something to work with. So obviously we have a lot of work to do here, and I want to do this as simple as possible for now. They have unfortunately cut out everything here, and obviously it's supposed to mimic the shape here of the trunk. So we have to figure something out. It's supposed to be like that, something. So I'm gonna look into some pictures and see how we could solve this in a simple way, at least for now, to make them be on the car at least. So I've started thinking here, and we have a bunch of problems, obviously. And one of them is that the trunk lid, is sticking out pretty far here, which feels weird. And I've tried adjusting it, and it is maxed out inwards, so I can't push it anymore. But if you do like this, you can see that it becomes better. But this trunk lid is really flimsy. It's very rusty in the bottom. They have riveted a piece of metal here to the back side, which has come loose again. So it's really hard to base this and getting everything to line up when I have a trunk lid that doesn't line up. And I have another one that is definitely not good, but it's a hell of a lot better than this one. And then I'm like, should I change the trunk lid right now? But the thing is, it doesn't really line up in the front either, because it is fairly close here, but it is too low. And if I lift here, it also comes forward and becomes better. And they have cut here, they have cut on the other side. I know that they've been messing around here, so I don't know what is right, what is wrong. So I just feel that I can't really change the trunk lid right now, because I need to change the doors, so I can redo the corners, so I can tie all of this together so that I eventually can get back to here. So with that said, I am not going to do so much right now, because I have to do a lot of work to this corner, because it has to be an edge all the way around. Then it's going to fold inwards to get the tail light in a little bit, and obviously we need to mimic this this shape. So I don't want to do that when I'm not sure where the trunk lid goes. So with that said, I am going to do this stupidly simple. So it doesn't really fit here because there is some metal in the way. So I want to cut that out so I can get it in as far as possible, and then I'm just going to make a metal tab here on the back side, something that holds on to like 2 of these nuts, put it in place and be happy with it for now. And one fine day we will get back to it, but it's gonna look a bit better at least. And on this side it's actually gonna line up half decently here, but obviously on this side it's not gonna do that, but I can hammer it a little bit into shape. So yeah, we're not gonna do it permanently, but we're gonna make at least gonna make it have its correct tail lights. So yeah, let's fix this. And here we have it in place, and something that was awesome is that they had just welded a flat piece over this, and the old shape was back here. So that gave us a very determined spot for how everything is supposed to align. So with that, we don't need to think so much about where the tailgate, the trunk lid goes, because this is where the taillight wants to be. We see where this concave shape is supposed to be. We know that it's supposed to go there, turn around, and basically mimic this bend shape, the same. You can see they have the same bend, and go around. So that's gonna help us tremendous in recreating this. And I mean, obviously it looks weird with the big hole surrounding it, but I think it looks better. And I actually put the Ford taillight back on just for a comparison. And I mean, I'm not gonna say that that looks bad, but all of the shapes of the car goes back into the taillight. It follows the rear quarter and everything. And also you're supposed to have a piece of trim that goes all the way around like this, which really ties it together. You're supposed to have a trim piece in the middle. So when the day comes that we can get all of that, that's also gonna make a very big difference. So even though it looks like crap, it's better crap than that crap. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. And there we have the driver's side taillight on, and I'm not sure, but that thing is missing, the little chrome piece, and it might be a trim level thing, or it might just be that this thing has fallen off. And the other ones I bought from eBay has both of them, but I thought might as well use the bad taillights now that we're working on the car, and then when eventually maybe we have some paint on it and have fixed all of that, then we can put on the good taillights. That's my plan at least. And you might call this unnecessary, but those taillights have been bugging me ever since I bought this thing. So I'm really happy to get a set of proper taillights. And as I said, they really go with all of the other shapes of the car. So I'm really happy with that. So that's basically all that we will be doing to the Chevelle here. We're gonna get that thing out of here tomorrow. So also, I gotta mention, there was actually one of you contacted me about this thing and told me that this was probably a Canada-built Chevelle made for export. So he asked if he could get a picture of the cowl tag, which I sent to him, and he confirmed that and told me a bunch of other interesting stuff. Most of them I already knew, that it was a four-door. It was white. I assumed it was white with a red interior. And there was something else that I can't really remember right now. But yeah, and I knew that it was a 6-cylinder with a 303. But he confirmed all of that and some interesting information. So I thought that was just neat. And he was from Canada, so he thought it was pretty fun that he could... The car was made in Canada, came here to Sweden, and now I can share the story back to Canada and the rest of the world. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's basically all here for the Chevelle. Tomorrow we're gonna get this thing out of here, and we're gonna get the El Camino in here. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed the video here. I'm super pumped about the Impala. I'm super excited about the family hauler build we're gonna do. I really hope I can buy that body. We'll see if everything aligns. I have way too many cars right now, and I'm not really sure what to sell and what to keep. But yeah, I guess that's a good problem to have. But anyway, thank you so much for sticking around here today, and I'll be back to you tomorrow.